Good morning, children. Today I'll explain you the second part of Chapter 6, My Childhood, written by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. So, I told you in my previous video that how, without any regional discriminations, Kalam and his Hindu friends used to live when he was a young child. One day, when I was in the fifth standard at the Rameswaram Elementary School, a new teacher came to our class. I used to wear a cap which marked me as a Muslim, and I always sat in the front row next to Ramanatha Sastri. So when Kalam was in the fifth standard, a new teacher came to their class, and in those days children used to sit together, like all Muslim children used to sit with Hindu children who wove the sacred thread. The new teacher could not stomach a Hindu priest's son sitting with a Muslim boy in accordance with our social ranking. As the new teacher saw it, I was asked to go and sit on the back bench. So the new teacher saw that a Muslim boy was sitting with Hindu boys, so he asked Kalam to go and sit at the last bench. I was asked to go and sit on the last bench. I felt very sad, and so did Ramanatha Sastri. He looked utterly downcast as I shifted to my seat in the last row. The image of him weeping when I shifted to the last row left a lasting impression on me. So when Kalam shifted his seat to the last row, he saw that his friend Ramanatha Shastri, he started weeping. And he felt very bad. He was very much depressed and sad upon his friend being sent to the last row. And this incident was set in the mind of Kalam. He could never forget in his life this image that his friend was weeping because Kalam was parted from his friend. After school, we went home and told our respective parents about the incident. Lakshmana Shastri summoned the teacher and in our presence told the teacher that he should not spread the poison of social inequality and communal intolerance in the minds of innocent children. So when the children went home, they told this whole incident to their parents. Kalam told the incident to his parents and Ramanatha Shastri told to his father, who was Lakshmana Shastri, the priest of Rameswaram temple. Lakshmana Shastri, Ramanatha Shastri's father, immediately called the teacher and told him that what he is doing is not good. He should not spread the poison of social inequality and communal intolerance. Like Kalam was a Muslim boy and Ramanatha Shastri was a Hindu boy, and because they are Muslims and Hindu, they cannot sit together, they cannot eat together. All these kind of things, Lakshmana Shastri told him that he should not spread such kind of negative things among the children because he was a teacher and he was not supposed to do this. He bluntly asked the teacher to either apologize or to quit the school and the island. Not only did the teacher regret his behavior, but the strong sense of conviction Lakshman Shastri conveyed ultimately reformed this young teacher. Then Lakshmana Shastri told him that either he should apologize, he should be sorry for this behavior, or he should leave the school and the island and should go from there. But what happened? The teacher realized his mistake. He was filled with regret. He felt sorry for his behavior, and not only he felt sorry, but he started changing from within because of Lakshmana Shastri's strong sense of conviction, means the strong opinion about Muslim and Hindu equality. This thought of Lakshmana Shastri changed the young teacher altogether. On the whole, the small society of Rameswaram was very rigid in terms of segregation of different social groups. However, my science teacher Siva Subramania Iyer, though an orthodox Brahmin with a very conservative wife, was something of a rebel. One day, he invited me to his home for a meal. His wife was horrified at the idea of a Muslim boy being invited to dine in her ritually pure kitchen. So, what happened that one day Kalam's science teacher invited Kalam to his home to have dinner with him. But when his science teacher's wife saw that a Muslim boy had come to their home to have dinner with them in their kitchen, in their ritually pure kitchen, it was totally separated from the outside world, and it was a kitchen of a Hindu Brahmin family. And in that kitchen was sitting a Muslim boy having dinner with them. Upon this thought, his science teacher Shiv Subramania's wife was greatly shocked. She refused to serve me in her kitchen. So she altogether refused that she will not let any Muslim boy enter her kitchen. Shiva Subramania Iyer was not perturbed, nor did he get angry with his wife. So upon this, his science teacher did not get upset. He did not feel bad that his wife is denying to let any Muslim boy sit in her kitchen and have dinner with her husband. He did not get upset upon this, and he was not at all angry with his wife, but instead served me with his own hands and sat down beside me to eat his meal. His wife watched us from behind the kitchen door. I wondered whether she had observed any difference in the way I ate rice, drank water, or cleaned the floor after the meal. So now what happened that instead of getting angry upon his wife, his science teacher himself served Kalam the food and sat beside him eating. His wife was watching all this from behind, and Kalam was thinking whether she was observing any difference, how a Muslim boy eats differently, drinks differently. Is the way of a Muslim boy eating and drinking different from her husband, who was a Hindu Brahmin man? When I was leaving his house, Shiva Subramania Iyer invited me to join him for dinner again the next weekend. Observing my hesitation, he told me not to get upset, saying, "Once you decide to change the system, such problems have to be confronted." When I visited his house the next week, Shiva Subramania Iyer's wife took me inside her kitchen and served me food with her own hands. So after the food, his teacher invited him again to have dinner with him. But when he saw that Kalam was hesitating to come to his house, he said that once you have decided to change the system, once you have decided to do something good with the system, you have to face such problems. So he told him not to be panic of such situations because they would have to face if they want to change. So the next week, when Kalam came to his teacher's house for dinner, he was surprised to see that his teacher's wife herself invited him inside and took him to her own kitchen and served him food with her own hands. So Kalam was very much surprised as well as happy to see an orthodox and conservative woman changing. Then the Second World War was over and India's freedom was imminent. And after the Second World War, it was very clear that India was to get the freedom. Indians will build their own India, declared Gandhiji. The whole country was filled with an unprecedented optimism. And because of this, like what Gandhiji declared, that now India was to get freedom and Indians will build their own India. Upon this, the whole country became so positive towards the freedom that they were very much happy that now they will be living in a new and free India. I asked my father for permission to leave Rameswaram and study at the district headquarters in Ramananthapuram. And now because Kalam was also growing day by day, now he wanted to continue with his studies at some bigger place. So he wanted to go to Ramananthapuram for his studies, and for this he asked his father to give him permission. He told me as if thinking aloud, Abul, I know you have to go away to grow. Does the seagull not fly across the sun, alone and without a nest? He quoted Khalil Gibran to my hesitant mother. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. So, in this way, his father, Kalam's father, he was such a wonderful father that he accepted Kalam's request and he agreed to send him away because he knew that his children have to grow. His father not only was convinced himself, rather, he convinced his mother also. And he told her what once Khalil Gibran said, that we cannot overpower anyone, we cannot have any right over anybody. He told his mother that Kalam and his brothers and sisters were not her children. She had given them just the birth, but they belonged to the whole nation. Because she can only give them birth, she can only give them love, but she cannot give them her thoughts. No parents can impose their thoughts upon their children because every single human being in this world has his own thought. Parents are only a good medium to bring their children up in a better way to face this world. Children have their own thoughts and they should be allowed to follow their own thoughts to become something good to serve the whole world. So we see in this story that what a wonderful father Kalam had. Not only his father but also his mother was a wonderful mother, was a wonderful woman. She was a very hardworking and loving and kind-hearted mother. Kalam's father was a strict father, but he was a loving and caring father. He had liberal thoughts. He wanted that his children should grow properly, so he gave them a very good education, a very good environment. He did not give them luxury because he wanted his children to face the difficulties of life, to face the struggles so that they become something good in their future. So like all other parents, his parents were also very much dedicated towards their children's education and good future. So from this story we learn that hardships and strong determination can take any person to any heights of life. Like Kalam, he was brought up in a very simple family with simple parents, but still he reached to the heights of academics, and to such great heights he reached that he became a missile man and also the president of India.